Thanks, that was great. We're going to have Mr. Ruggiero do the approval of the minutes, please.
Short resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of the Board of Education, hereby accepts the minutes of the October 15th, 2016, November 2nd, 2016, board workshop meeting as submitted.
Second.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Ed. Any comment? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Mr. Ray, would you come up?
This past Thursday in the high school, we had a signing, which is the national letter of intent for any student athletes that are going to be furthering their high school career and playing at the college level. So we thought it would be nice to honor them publicly tonight. I've known these student athletes over the past 6 years, since they started in the middle school athletic program, some went right up to the high school athletic program, and their achievements on the field and on the court is a great honor, and that's why they signed the national letter of intent. But more importantly, it's the children the adults that they become. They've been great ambassadors of our athletic program, and more so, just good leaders and good people. So I'm very proud of them. So at this time, we call you up. Would you please come up and accept your recognition?
First name we're going to call up is, she's going to play lacrosse in college, but she's one of our county champion soccer players, Leah Donovan. Come on up. This is our second soccer player. She's going to Cortland. Casey Schmidt.
If I could just say, Casey led our first ever county championship in girls soccer this past fall.
We're going to deviate here. Little male, female. I'm going to announce Thomas Zoli. All right, this is going to be just another one of my lacrosse girls. This young lady is going to Stony Brook University. Miss Haley Dillon. This young lady is going to the Penn State University, Emily Vigilio. Last but not least, is this young lady is going to Syracuse University, my daughter, Hannah Edmond.
I'd like to congratulate Julia Markey, who will be attending Campbell College. Next, I'd like to congratulate Raina Sabella, who will be Next to be congratulated is Jason Schlonsky, who is attending Skidmore College. And last of those I'm introducing is Ed Stock, who will be attending Wheaton College.
Hi, everyone. Oops, oh, sorry. Oh, yeah. So this is a pretty exciting moment for me because one of these athletes is my child, but many of them, I feel like I have raised myself because they've just been on the field with their trainers everywhere, and I just want to give them a lot of credit for working this hard for this long and getting into these great schools. So congratulations. I'm trying not to cry. RJ Moore. And we're so proud of him. The next one I happen to be related to is Lucas Capomiego Hogan. And next, we have a young man who's an amazing football player, but is going to the Penn State for rugby. Another lacrosse player we have who's going to Queens College is Nick Cesario. And then our next person is a baseball player who is going to Campbell College, and that would be DJ Gatz.
Yes, stay like that. Look like you're standing. There's a microphone next to me, so. I'm not.
I know, it's okay. She's very fast, though.
Not like we didn't get enough pictures of you.
Nah, we need more pictures. Smile. Leah, smile.
Congratulations.
I know quite a few of you have homework, and some of you are donating blood tomorrow. So with that, we wish you a good night, and thank you all for coming. Congratulations.
I did. I didn't
Has everything?
tonight, which is a little bit of a conflict, but thank you all for coming here tonight. We're going to begin with the superintendent's report right now.
So if the board would join me down below, please, for my presentation.
Marky.
Good evening, and thanks for coming. I just mentioned we have a play. I'm sure there are many other things you could be doing. Tonight we had a presentation set to go, presentation with our elementary school principal, John Gentlecore. I appreciate he showed up tonight to introduce our elementary kids to do the pledge, but he had a death in his family, and he's had a rough few weeks, so we're postponing his presentation. It was going to be about how ready are our full-day K kids for first grade, you know, compared to our half-day kids. Something I'm looking forward to hearing. So December, we will have that presentation as well as a presentation from our new Director of Fine Arts on possible electives at the high school. So it'll be a dual presentation. Tonight, the important thing we're going to talk about is I'm proposing a suicide prevention policy to the board. That tonight marks the first reading of this policy. I'm just going to quickly review it with you. Obviously, you're aware, and there are a number of things driving this. One, we'd like to be proactive, not reactive. Thank God we are at this point. Because you know about what's been going on since last spring. Unfortunately, last spring we had a young man who committed suicide in Port Jefferson, and I shared that event with the superintendent of Port Jeff. Then my great partner in Miller Place shared the suicide in Miller Place this summer. And then unfortunately, Shore Whiting River had a young man commit suicide. Shortly thereafter, a young lady, 14 years old, committed suicide. And I was corrected because Ann Morrison, some of you are here, thankfully, and thank you for attending our presentation for the parents this past Monday. And Ann corrected me and said a young man, which this really didn't hit the press, from West Iceland, also 15, took his own life. So that's 5 in the area, in our neighborhood, basically. So there are a lot of things driving this proposed policy. Other than the fact that many, if you saw the cover of Time magazine, for example, the story is all about teen depression. It's all over. It's a 7-year rise, 7-year consistent rise in teen suicides. And as I point out in bullet number 1, suicides among young people continue to be a serious problem. Suicide is the 3rd leading cause of death for 15 to 24-year-olds. Ann corrected us Monday and said it's now the 2nd leading cause of death. In 2014, nationwide, 425 students the ages of 10 to 14 committed suicide. More than car accidents, which the total was in 2014, 385. This is timely. Basically, suicide is a major cause of death. We know that. The board requires all staff to immediately report any students suspected suicide behavior to the appropriate school personnel. Actually, currently, it goes right to the principal. And the board shall also require the superintendent designee to implement appropriate educational programs. You'll see that we have that built into the policy. Hopefully you can read that. I tried to get as large as I could, but I'm just highlighting sections of the policy for you. Hopefully it'll help you understand it. It breaks it down basically into 3 categories: high risk, medium risk, and low risk. So basically I'm going to focus on the high risk. So we report any potential suicide to school administrator first, then psychologist, guidance counselor, nurse, and/or social worker. Now, every building has a crisis response team made up basically of those people. The administrator, which will be the principal, school psychologist, guidance counselor, social worker, and nurse. As soon as that student is reported and is there, these are tough questions to ask the student. But you question the student about any feelings of hopelessness and length of time of such feelings. Question the student about any thought about killing himself or herself and how persistent and strong the thoughts are. Question the student whether any plans have been made, how detailed the plans are, and whether any preliminary actions have been taken, writing notes, things of that nature. So after gathering information, the crisis team should determine the level of risk. Make the situation, select a case coordinator who will oversee the implementation. Now here are the following steps that are extremely important. The student should not be let out of sight of a reporting staff member. The parent must be notified immediately. The student may only be released to the parent or parent designee. A referral to the emergency room for assessment will be made immediately. There shall be a follow-up to be sure. Now, any student who the parents feel is ready to return must have a psychiatric evaluation, saying the student is no longer of a risk for suicide. And then if it continues where they have concerns, F is the parent must provide with a list of referrals if the student requires ongoing treatment. If the student is already in outside therapy, communication must go on with that outside therapist. And then you can see what becomes a high-risk indicator, a detailed suicide plan, feeling of hopelessness, written suicide statement, history of previous suicide attempt, chronically self-destructive lifestyle, meaning drugs and alcohol, combined with severe loss. Could be a loss of a parent, a relative, a close friend, or a threat of loss, anniversary of loss, things that you have to keep your eyes on. And then the policy goes to the next two categories, medium and low risk. Now, what happens is what happens afterwards, the crisis response team member will maintain contact with the student and the parents on a regular basis. And then it tells how to manage a suicide should it occur. But the American Foundation for the Prevention of Suicide has given me what is called a toolbox, and I'll touch on that in a second, if the suicide happens in the school. And by the way, Sean Wading River contacted us for the names of the people we have been using and will be coming and speaking to our folks. All staff will receive annual professional development on risk factors, warning signs, protective factors. I have already, right after that SHORM event, I immediately went to the high school the next day and met with guidance counselors, the chair of guidance, and said we all have to be on high alert for these signals, any signals. So annual professional development and developmentally, it has to be also embedded in the curriculum in health classes. Here is, if there is an event, the American Foundation has provided, after a suicide, which is kind of a frightening thing to look at, a toolkit to use. You won't be able to see that, but I'll just quickly go over what it provides in the toolkit. Crisis response, how to set up an appropriate response step-by-step. Members on that team, I basically reviewed that with you. Helping students cope, making everything available. Where can students go? Where is a safe space? All their recommendations regarding that. Working with the community, communicating with the police, anyone involved with it, if it's the fire department. Working with neighboring superintendents. There's an interim superintendent, Sean Wading River, and Marianne and I have communicated with him. You had 2 events, you did not share the details with us. And Ken, I was on the 3rd person when he was in port, called me, and I found out everything so I could alert my administrators. When Marianne experienced a Miller Place, she called me immediately and we shared the details. It's important to know our communities are so close. Port Jeff, Mount Sinai, Miller Place, and so many of the kids know those kids. So we have to be aware and be prepared for it. An important fact they warn you about, memorialization. How do you mourn, or what do you do formally, informally, in the community or in the high school? And there's the danger of memorializing too much, because you can get copycat suicides. And if you do have a form of memorialization in the school, and they talk about that, it has to be the same way for every suicide that occurs in the district. You can't have a great one versus no mention at all. So, important advice in this toolkit. Social media, how to handle them, recommendation. I call it copycat suicides because a frightening thing happened about 1987 in Middle Country. Middle Country has 2 high schools, 2 middle schools, and between the 2 high schools, and they followed, there was one in Newfield, there's one in Centeridge, there's one in Newfield, and we totaled 6 in about 6 months. Because how kids, the attention, the drama, what the impact that a suicide has. But that was a frightening time to be a teacher in the classroom and what could happen at any moment. 6. But contagion is the word they use versus copycat. Bring in outside help. Know your limitations. What can our counselors do? How many counselors do we have? Do we have to bring in extra help from the outside to help out? You know, what's going on in the school. And I always, after those suicides, I said to Rob in high school, Pete in the middle school, what's going on? How busy are you? How active is it? Do we need any more help? So we could send, if it's very active at the high school, you can send personnel from the elementary, middle school over to help out. And I'll tell you who's become a great partner, North Shore Youth Council, who showed up. I didn't ask them to. They heard we were doing the presentation Monday night, and they sent 4 counselors in case parents were upset and needed to talk to somebody. And you know what? We had a number of them immediately 10 minutes in, some who were, and at the end, particularly. So I thank them, and they just came down to help out. They've been great. Bringing in outside help and going forward. That means training every year, and that means building things into the curriculum so you can talk about it. It's a hard thing to talk about, but it must be talked about and put out there. Now this is what we're doing, again, proactively. We already had Monday night. We have to get it off the sign. Our parents' meeting, November 8th on Superintendent's Conference Day. Our staff was trained. Ann Morrison came from the American Foundation again and addressed the entire faculty, all 3 buildings, and I thought that was very successful. During their presentation, and a number of the board members there, and I appreciate that, you could hear a pin drop. It was absolutely silent. And the interesting thing, you would think teachers would be fleeing for the doors on Superintendent's Conference Day. But afterwards, they stayed and huddled in small groups. And when you walked outside the building, they were meeting in small groups and just talking quietly. So I knew that had impact. So we trained our staff. We have a meeting for our parents. And now health classes next Monday and Tuesday. And what we started to talk about the other night at the parent training is to bring it down to the 8th grade as well, to talk about it. So that's what we're doing, but it doesn't stop there. This was our flyer, by the way, for Monday night. I will be going December 7th to Huntington, Marriott, for suicide prevention on December 7th. And Friday, our high school and middle school staff, key personnel, social workers, psychologists, guidance counselors are going to Shoreham Wading River's presentation for more training over there. They've titled it, Creating and Fostering Healthy, Happy Schools, Students and Faculty. Okay, and again, they've been reaching out to us lately. So, anything we can find out, how we can train our staff, curriculum, we're going to have it, that's what we're going to do. Especially with this current trend in teenage depression and suicide. And every day is a good day when you don't hear about a suicide in our surrounding districts, particularly. So that's what we've been up to. The district has been proactive. I thank the board for allowing us to go forward with all of this and get as much training as we can for our staff. Even this morning at 7:30, I'm in the library watching a presentation for the forensics class. And they were actually showing real cases and talking about that. And looking at 90 students from behind, I was just asking questions. Matt Dyer was saying, tell me about that student. Tell me about that student. By watching their body language, their dress, their appearance, and I just said, I'm a little uncomfortable. You might want to tell the guidance counselor to bring that child in. 2 I picked out in that group. They were just acting, looked different, reacting differently, and there's nothing wrong with having a meeting about it. So we all have to be diligent in the hallways, and I'm thankful too for our administrators with every period, between every class, they are out there interacting with our students all the time. Hey, how's it going? Especially if they see a kid maybe walking by themselves, or they're not normally by themselves. You approach that student between every period you can find them. And I'm lucky to have those folks. So, we're being diligent, we're being proactive, and we are very aware that this is a big problem. And this, all the training will be ongoing, every year. Okay? So that's what we've been up to and going to be up to. Thank you.
Just as a reminder, again, we are videotaping this board meeting, and it will be online shortly. And I'd like to thank Mr. Jackers again for the great job he did last month and for continuing to do this. So thanks, Ken. We really appreciate that. This is the portion of our agenda where we will have a 15-minute community question period. The items that you ask about or comment about should pertain to the agenda at this point. And then later we'll have another open question and answer period. That said, are there any questions, comments, concerns about the agenda? Okay. So now we're moving to personnel resignations. We have a number of resignations, which is always a bittersweet time for me personally, having worked in the district, known all the 6 teachers who are retiring, 5 of whom had all my children. So it's a particularly difficult time, but there's a new chapter for them, so God bless. So right now, do we have to do the motion? Yes? Okay. So we'll do the motions, and then Mr. Brasdale would like to make a few comments on each of them. Okay. So Carrie, Pat Bowie?
Patricia Bowie, special education teacher, resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education hereby accepts the resignation for retirement purposes. Patricia Bowie, special education teacher, effective June 24th, 2017.
Second. Thank you, Lynn. Comments?
Patricia Bowie was hired by the Mount Sinai School District 34 years ago. She's taught various special education programs throughout the district, most recently serving as a resource room teacher at the middle school. She started a self-contained class at the middle school and was one of the first teachers to implement the consultant teacher direct program. She's always helped out our exceptional students, participated in countless events that have benefited the Mount Sinai community, and it's without question that she will be dearly missed.
Sorry, this is getting a little teary. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Karen Blumenthal, Pete?
Number 2, Karen Blumenthal, physical education teacher. Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education hereby accepts the resignation. for retirement purposes of Karen Blumenthal, physical education teacher, effective June 24th, 2017.
Thank you, Bob.
Karen Blumenthal began teaching at Mount Sinai in September 1991. For the years, Karen taught physical education in all 3 buildings in the district. Karen also coached cross-country at the middle school. What I think she'll be missed most for is introducing Mount Sinai to Project Adventure, which she did in 2003, and she actually started out with 17 kids. Currently, Project Adventure classes enroll 200 students per year. During 25 years in the district, she's taught health in the middle school and the high school, and brought Challenge Day to the high school 3 years ago. She's outstanding. I've observed her numerous times. Her passion for teaching is still strong after 25 years, and we will miss her.
Any other comments? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Ed, Margaret Christensen.
Margaret Christensen, Library Media Specialist. Resolved upon the recommendation of the Superintendent, the Board of Education hereby accepts the resignation for retirement purposes of Margaret Christensen, Library Media Specialist, effective February 1st, 2017.
Second. Thank you, Lynn.
Peggy Christensen has been the elementary school librarian for 14 years. She came to Mount Sinai from the Sachem School District after teaching there for 4 years. She had done some work in the Connecticut Public Library prior to that. She plans on spending a lot of time with her husband, traveling in their RV, trying her hand at writing, and will continue to sub in the public library in retirement. She has 20 years in the system, will continue to live in Miller Place with a husband and 2 sons.
Any comments? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Elizabeth Morgan, up.
Elizabeth Morgan, elementary teacher, resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education hereby accepts the resignation for retirement purposes of Elizabeth Morgan, elementary teacher, effective June 24th, 2017.
Second. Thank you, Lynn.
Elizabeth Morgan has been teaching Mount Sinai for 30 of her 33 years in education. She has taught at many grade levels in both the elementary school and middle school. Ms. Morgan has served generations of students with care, dedication, as a genuine love for her profession. She's a consummate professional and always worked to provide a supportive classroom for her students. Losing Mrs. Morgan's experience will certainly leave a void that will be difficult to fill. We wish her a long, enjoyable retirement.
Thank you. Any other comments? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Diane Nichols, Lynn.
Diane Nichols, elementary teacher. Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education hereby accepts the resignation for retirement purposes of Diane Nichols, elementary teacher, effective January 24th, 2017.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Ed.
Diane Nichols has taught at Mount Sinai for over 20 years. Prior to that, she taught preschool for 4 years, Catholic schools another 4 years, and Southern public schools for 7, while she was raising her own children. Her plans for retirement include as much traveling as possible and spending a great deal of time with her 2 grandchildren. Ms. Nichols would also like to take painting classes, get back to watercolor painting, or something she loves to do. She'll be dearly missed.
Good for her. Any other comments?
Yes, I'd like to comment. For all the years that she taught, the example that she gave was someone who taught like it was her first year. She was an extraordinary teacher, taught some of my children how to read, write in an expressive way, and she would be very difficult to replace.
Thank you, Tom. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Donna Pearson, Mike?
Sure, Donna Pearson, foreign language teacher, resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, Board of Education, hereby accepts the resignation for retirement purposes of Donna Pearson, foreign language teacher, effective June 24, 2017. Second.
Thank you, Pete.
Donna Pearson has worked for 30 years in the Mount Sinai School District as a foreign language teacher. She was hired in 1987, earned her bachelor's degree at Stony Brook and master's at Dowling. She's certified in both Spanish and French. She also studied abroad in Spain. Her passion for her craft, coupled with professionalism and dedication to her students, is obvious. As a result, she has served the students at Mount Sinai well. She plans on enjoying her free time with her 6 grandchildren and traveling abroad.
Any comments? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Those 6 people represent 153 years of education in the Mount Sinai School, so that's pretty awesome. And again, they will be very, very missed. Is that you, Pat? It is. There's Mrs. Bowie, one of the 6 who is leading special ed. Thank you so much. So now we're on number 7, Pete.
Number 7, Rosemary Madonna, Transportation Clerk. Resolved upon the recommendation of the Superintendent, the Board of Education hereby accepts the resignation for retirement purposes of Rosemary Madonna, Transportation Clerk, effective November 30, 2016.
Second.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Ed. Any comments? Row 2. Okay, go ahead.
Row is the person who makes our bus system run. Our kids are safe and they are picked up outside their home or at a bus stop near your home because she works out all the routes. She treats them all like they're her kids. If you've ever called in, she'll take care of anything. She'll work it out for you. For the district office, I would imagine this is going to be an extraordinary person to have to replace. And she really served the students. Many of you may not have ever had any interaction with her, but she really served the students for many years and really appreciate it.
I agree, Bob. Ro is an incredible person. And it's amazing in such a situation, handling transportation, which is very delicate. If 2 issues from parents got to my desk in almost 2.5 years, that's a lot. She's an incredible professional who has a great relationship with the bus company, knows how to talk to parents with dignity and respect. And we have such an incredible group of people in DO. We're all very close, and she will, Bob, really be a loss to us. We'll miss her.
Thank you. Any other comments? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Ed?
Carrie Lowry, School District Aide, resolved upon the recommendation of the Superintendent, the Board of Education hereby accepts the resignation of Carrie Lowry, School District Aide, effective November 2nd, 2016.
Second?
Second.
Thanks, Pete. Any comments? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Non-instructional appointments, School District Aide, Bob?
School District Aide, Substitute Aide, Clerical. Resolved upon the recommendation of the Superintendent, the Board of Education hereby approves the following appointments. Kathleen Balzerano, November 17, 2016, School District Aide, Step 1. Nicole Hintersheets, November 17, 2016, School District Aide, Step 1. Kathy Tagliatore, November 17, 2016, Substitute Clerical, $10 an hour. And Rosemary Madonna, December 1st, 2016, we can't get away from this. Substitute School District Aide and Substitute Clerical, $10 an hour.
Second.
Thank you, Lynn. Any comments? All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Please don't buy perhaps that I'm abstaining because of a personal relationship with some of the parties.
Okay. Thank you. Coaches, Lynn?
Resolved upon the recommendation of the Superintendent, the Board of Education hereby approves the following coaching appointments as listed below.
Second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Ed. Any comments? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Extracurricular, Mike?
Sure, extracurricular and club advisors. Resolved upon the recommendation of the Superintendent, the Board of Education hereby approves the following amended club advisors effective December 1, 2016. Student Council, Corey Doyle, Nicole Camaro, and remove Beth Ann Hyland as advisor effective December 1, 2016.
Any second?
I'll second that.
Thanks, Pete. Any comments? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Action items, Carrie, A.
A, Committee on Special Education. Resolved upon the recommendation of the Superintendent, the Board of Education has no objections to the following special education recommendations and approve the authorization for the funds to implement the special education programs and services consistent with such.
Second?
Second?
Thank you, Lynn. Any comments? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Suicide prevention, Pete.
B, suicide prevention policy. Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education hereby approves the first reading of the attached suicide prevention policy.
Second?
I'll second that.
Thanks, Bob. Any comments?
Sure.
Go ahead.
I just want to thank the superintendent and the rest of the board. We have small meetings here, and those of you who come are regulars, but the superintendent has been all over this for many months, and it's a very sensitive topic to everybody. I think probably everybody in their lifetime probably has some connection to suicide or possibly knows someone or a friend of someone, and it's a very serious topic. And I think the fact that we've tried to be as proactive as possible so that we give ourselves every chance to recognize and save a life. And I think that what the superintendent put together here for you tonight in that brief outline to you, and that every year our teachers are going to get retrained, every year, just so they continuously hear what to look for, get the new up-to-date training. And what I think is even more important is, sometimes you can't always catch somebody who may be showing the signs. And the fact that our students themselves are going to get training so that they can help report on a friend or even self-report someone who might be suicidal or in a bad place, could hear and receive the training and say, you know what, I'm going through something and there's a way out here. I'm not alone. I can call a hotline and I can get myself help. So again, I commend Gordon for what he's done and the rest of the board for, empowering him to move quickly so that hopefully we never have to speak of this here in Nelson.
And this was just a first reading, so like Mike said, we've been talking about it. We've had some preliminary discussions. We've added things. So, once we're all comfortable and feel like this is the best policy for Mount Sinai, at next month's meeting, we will adopt it formally.
Yeah, sure. In some of the literature we saw this evening, they discussed the fact that the age bracket was 15 to 24. But in the presentations we got Monday night, they were talking about the age of 10 to 24. And they are finding that more younger children are having ideations of suicide or will say something about this or, So you need to look at your kids all the time, from the day they're born until, forever. And don't blame it on, they're going through teenage years. Keep a close eye on them because any age this can happen. And this doesn't just have to be kids. Grandma and Grandpa could be going through the same kind of thing. You could be. So, everybody needs to be aware.
Any other comments? Thank you, Lynn. All in favor of the first reading? Opposed? Carried. Action items, business. Some of you who were here at the last meeting heard us say we were having a workshop meeting of the Board of Education. You were invited, but we asked for no public comment. At that workshop meeting, we sat down and we hammered out a lot of details regarding board committees, which is kind of behind-the-scenes work that the Board of Education does besides once a month come here. So we kind of, in the spirit of transparency and in an effort to formalize things a little bit more, hammered out some details and came up with a resolution for that. Ed, would you mind reading that?
Board of Education committees. Resolved, the Board of Education hereby establishes the following advisory board committees for the 2016-17 school year effective November 1st, 2016, as listed.
Thank you, Mike. Comments? Bob, did you want to?
Just on the district-wide safety committee, that's made up of the entire board. Most of these committees, other than the committee on committees and the policy committee, have been in existence for a number of years. The district-wide safety committee has prepared, for example, what the superintendent has presented as the emergency response booklet that we have, and it's published with the precincts. and is involved with the teachers and the administrators of the building, and that will be continued through the entire board.
Thank you. Any other comments? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Bob, obsolete?
Obsolete equipment, resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education hereby declares the following items as obsolete and further authorizes disposal as listed.
Second?
Thank you, Lynn. Any comments? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. School district bond, Lynn?
Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education hereby approves the attached resolution authorizing the refunding of Mount Sinai School District serial bonds issued in 2007 and 2010.
Second.
Thank you, Mike. Ed, Karen,
In a nutshell, this is analogous to you refinancing your home's mortgage. There are certain periods of time during the issuance of the bond that by contract or by covenant, we're allowed to go back to the market and refinance, or in this terminology, refund, and roll these bonds to new issues. It helps us because we're going to be getting a lower interest rate and saving a lot of money for the district.
any other comments? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. So this is the last portion of our program tonight, and here's when you can ask any questions or make any comments, and jump in. Yes?
I have a question. What's the status of the bond that the district's looking to start up? The, you know, the bond committee and the bond that we're looking to do, is there progress on that? Or is there more information on that?
It's a little bit, Ed.
Well, we've started with a working group to firstly understand the process. So we've had our first meeting, and we will be scheduling additional meetings, and in the spirit of transparency, publicizing the dates and subjecting ourselves to the open meeting law where applicable. It's still very early stage in the process. We have a lot of learning to do, and that's where we are, just learning the process, because it is a fairly elaborate, long, drawn-out process, especially when you're dealing with the state. The state has to approve everything at every stage of the game.
Okay. Thank you, Ed. Any other questions?
All is peaceful.
I know. I would love to wish all of you a very happy Thanksgiving. Thank you for coming out tonight. The play is also on Saturday night. If you get a chance and can go to the high school, that would be great. Thanks, everyone.
Have a great Thanksgiving.
Second.